Hey my darlings, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Cindy from the travel blog iowander.com. So I make videos about expat life in South Korea as well as other travel related content. So if you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button. In my previous video, I went over the EPIK application process timeline, and in today's video, I wanted to talk to you guys about the actual EPIK interview. So I'll be going over the questions that I was asked during my interview, as well as offer you guys some tips, just in case you guys are asked similar questions. So let's jump right into it. My interview was scheduled for October 29th from 12:50 to 1:20 p.m. and that's in Korean time. So for me in Chicago, that was actually October 28th from 10:50 to 11:20 p.m. So, because it was so late in the evening, I didn't exactly have the best lighting situation. So just something to keep in mind, when choosing where you want to do your interview. And my interviewer was actually 5 minutes late, and those 5 minutes, it felt like a lifetime. Like I felt my anxiety start to build up. And I'll begin by saying that throughout the whole interview, she definitely had her poker face on.
The more I researched, the more I fell in love with Korea, the food, the language, the landscape.
She was friendly, but it was really difficult to gauge what her impression of me actually was. So she began by going over the application, but she never actually asked me about the lesson plan, so that was a bit surprising. So let's get into the questions that she asked me. How would your friends describe you? So with this question, they're basically trying to get to know you better. So it's a good time to let your personality shine. I made sure to highlight, qualities that would also be ideal in a teacher. Things such as, being friendly, organized, and punctual, all that good stuff. Why Korea? Okay, hold that thought. I know a lot of you guys are into K-pop and K-drama, and although I think it's okay to bring that up, I definitely don't think it's a good idea to go into a whole spiel about it, because the last thing you want is for the interviewer to think that that is your sole reason for coming here. You definitely don't want them to think that. So, I made sure to talk about, my research and how Korea was one of the top English programs to teach abroad. And then, I also talked about wanting to visit Korea, and this would be a good opportunity to immerse myself in the culture. What do you know about Korea? So this would be a good time to showcase the research that you've done and the knowledge that you have of Korea. You just want them to know that you're serious about living there for the next year. So, for me, I shared little facts that I knew about the country and the culture and, and so on. What have you learned from your travels abroad? So with this question, they're just trying to ensure that, you're open to new cultures and that you're not someone that will arrive in Korea and completely freak out. So for me, I talked about countries that I visited before, as well as share with them a travel story and then lessons learned and, how it shaped me. If you and your co-teacher have disagreements, how would you handle the situation? So with this question, I think that they just want to be confident that if any conflicts were to arise, that you would be able to handle it professionally. So, I talked about being a team player, and then I also emphasized that, at the end of the day, it's about the students. So even if there's issues with you and your co-teacher, ultimately it's going to boil down to what's best for the students and, keep them a priority because that's what's most important. In your class, your students will be at different levels. What would you do in order to enhance their learning? So oftentimes there will be a gap between the students' learning levels and, they just want to ensure that you have a plan in place, right? So for me, for example, I talked about having certain assignments that will vary depending on the student's level. How would you deal with disruptive students in your class? So this question is pretty straightforward. Just go over whatever discipline policy that you'll have in place for when your students are being little troublemakers. Why did you choose Seoul? Seoul is extremely competitive and difficult to get into, so really use this opportunity to sell yourself. So for me, I listed all the great things about Seoul and why I would be a great fit, but then at the same time, I was flexible with the location placement, so I made sure they were aware of that. Any questions? So really just ask anything. By asking a question, you just come off more engaging. All right, that's a wrap. So those are the 9 questions that I was asked during my interview. The whole thing lasted 23 minutes. She informed me that I would get my results in 2 to 3 business days, but I actually got my results the very next day. So that was very exciting. So I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you enjoyed it, please give it a big thumbs up. And if you have any questions, need clarification, or anything you would like to add, please let me know in the comments below. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!